Okay, bruh, fans. Now, even though it has not been confirmed, I'm still thinking this was the mid-season finale. Apparently, season 3 is 20 episodes, and this was episode 10. So, yeah, for now, I'll just say mid-season finale. Maybe I'll put in the title, and if it turns out next week we have a new episode, I'll go back and change it. But this is season 3, episode 10, entitled Around and Around. Claudia confesses to Bill that she is married to a notorious killer, leaving him terrified. Now, what did I think of the episode? Now, let me just be upfront. It was a hell of a lot better than Sisters was last night. We got, 5 different scenes in this episode. Kind of like last week, I'll admit the first scene at the bar, that did drag on longer than it needed to. But at the same time, the only scene that I really felt was, okay, I didn't really care for this much. I feel like for the 3rd or 4th episode in a row, it was the Greg and Darla stuff. But other than that, everything else was pretty okay. And I think one of my favorite parts was probably the Pam and Regina thing, all things considered, because I haven't been too crazy for how Pam has been acting since season 2 in regards to the whole Bill and Regina thing. But this week did a great job of really kind of calling her out for it, but at the same time flipping it back on Regina. So let's jump into it. And also, as always, make sure you like and subscribe. Help the views on the bruh videos, so it encourages me to review the back half of season 3. Now, we pick up where we left off after Alice slapped Lydia across the face, and then Lydia hits this woman so hard that she literally flips over and onto the couch, knocked out snoring. Yeah, I think my favorite part of this scene was how the background extras reacted to this, and I'm thinking nobody's pulled out their phone, nobody's putting this on World Star. But then again, I'm just like surprised that look, I get it though. I mean, this is a show, so not everyone's going to be involved, but I'm just thinking like this, you saw one of the workers getting slapped, and then she retaliates and punches an old woman, well, I better not say old before Miss Alice comes after me. She hits another lady who flips over a couch, and nobody reacts to this. Nobody's looking the whole time like, oh my God. Or maybe they're like looking away like, I better, look at my plate of food or my drink or the person across from me so I don't get my ass knocked out. But yeah, the scene pretty much plays out for about 6 or 7 minutes. I'm not going to harp on it too long, but essentially John is in shock that you hit my mama. And to be completely honest, despite the fact that he called, the ambulance and the cops, I feel like it's possible that Lydia has a case of it being self-defense due to the fact that Alice was the one who assaulted her first. And on top of that, she's like, I'm on probation and whatnot. She calls John a bitch for really calling the police. But like John said, hey, well, I'd rather be a bitch than I call the police. And to be honest, is it worth fighting a losing battle? Because it's interesting how it's just interesting how society works in some cases where you're considered a B word for calling the cops versus, oh, what are you going to do? Hit me? So it's like, so is he more of a man for hitting you? And is he less of a man for calling the police? I don't know. It is what it is. But essentially, Lydia is trying to say, look, we need to get to the hospital. And then, she's pleading with John. It's funny how she went from calling him a little B to, wait, baby, no, I didn't mean to do it. So it's kind of like, so how are you acting, Lydia? So Lydia decides to bounce before the cops come. And I'm thinking, so is there no bar manager or something to, handle the situation? Why did Lydia have to deal with this unruly customer by herself? And I still don't think she was the one that wrecked the apartment. Just my opinion. But eventually Alice comes to, and she can't believe what happened, or should I say she doesn't remember what happened. And, John is like, look, all these years, you spending all that time talking about how you can fight, how you can knock people out and this and that. And I don't know if I'm scared of you like I thought I used to be, because I just saw you get knocked out. Oh, I'm high. She sucker punched me. I got weed in my bra, so we need to leave before the cops come. So they decide to split. First scene did drag on a bit too much, but it did actually make me laugh in some cases. But yeah, I mean, hell, we actually got a fight, and Miss Alice is kind of like, I don't know, talk that talk. But going to the restaurant, Tom and Dina are on their date, and it's just a nice scene because, like I said before, I think this is the first time we've actually seen Tom on a date, because season 1, it was the whole Valerie situation. Season 2, Tom was really more of a setup character in regards to setting the stage for Greg to be Tom 2.0 until he eventually came back this season. But in season 3, it's like we're actually giving Tom stuff to do, and based on this scene, apparently somebody to do, and I hope it doesn't lead to that, because the main thing of the scene was, my entire reaction was, Tom, didn't season 1 establish the fact that you and Valerie apparently had drunk sex after like a work Christmas party, and then that led to the whole thing with her being obsessed with you? And to be honest, I wouldn't mind her being obsessed with me, but it's just one of those things where, are you putting yourself back into a similar situation? But the core of the conversation was Dina asking, Tom, like, hey, is Greg interested in trans women? Because, the woman who was mad at the apartment, I've seen her around, and I know she's a trans woman, so why would you try to hook me up with somebody like Greg? Someone who's into trans. And Tom, I love how, I don't even want to say politically correct, but just how forward, and how he cuts through the nonsense, like, hey, you're the one who asked me if you can hey, can you introduce me to your friend? And the fact that, look, he just came into town, him and Darla are just being friendly, so it's like Tom isn't like I guess you could say jumping on the train like John is, saying like, hey man, are you into that stuff? Where Tom is like, look, hey, he just is getting to know her, and that's pretty much it. So he's not, I guess you could say, he's not labeling Greg. That's pretty much the best way to say it. So he rightfully tries to shift the conversation to like, hey, it's me and you, we're on this date, so let's try to get to know each other some more. And from there, it's a conversation of, how this date's going to end. Is it a situation where we're actually going to, end it after dinner, or we're going to end it tomorrow morning? One of those situations. But regardless, she goes on to say, look, after a few more drinks, we'll see what happens. And Tom is like, you're always talk, but then when it's time to, show up, you're one to talk up, but you're not one to show up. When it's time to pay on all that big talk, you get scared. So, he calls for some wine, and I'm thinking, this is a bad idea. That's probably going to backfire. But can't wait to see how it plays out regardless. So we move on to Greg and Darla, which was my least favorite part of the episode, only because of the fact that there's a lot of back and forth between the two, where it's like, look, this is just me. This is how I operate. I just don't think I could date someone who calls me out of my name the number of times, let's say, Darla does to Greg. I mean, MFer, the N-word, B-word. It's just like one of those things where Greg, I gotta be completely honest with you. As soon as I saw the thumbnail for the episode, I was already mad. I'm like, first of all, why is she back in Tom's apartment with another guy? Is this trying to make Greg jealous situation? And if so, like, what the hell's going on here? But then when I watched the episode and got the context, I'm like, okay, you know what? I was wrong for being mad, because it actually makes sense. But at the same time, thankfully, Greg even says, okay, you're doing too much. And I feel like if Darla really felt that, Greg was full of it, then there was no reason to prove him wrong in terms of, oh, you think I can't get another guy that quickly? Someone who's open-minded and knows what they're getting into when it comes to dating a transgender person. So the scene starts off. Greg calls Darla to apologize. She comes over. A few minutes later, she comes in, and she can't stay for too long because she has a date. And I do like the fact that she got to the point of, look, I can't sit around wasting my time, because you were really into me up until the point when you found out, I'm a trans woman, and as a result, you've been acting kind of weird ever since. And to an extent, yeah, I pretty much agree with that. The fact that, after Greg found out, it really became more of him allowing the thoughts and opinions of the bros kind of dictate where his mind is, how he feels about Darla. Because if you go back to season 2, Greg, he couldn't keep his hands off her. But then it's kind of weird because you get to a few episodes ago where Greg was on the date with Darla, and then John walked in. Up until that point, he knew what he was getting into. It's like, well, let me rephrase that. He definitely seemed interested in, I guess you could say, expanding his dating lifestyle, but at the same time, it didn't seem to be the same level of confusion it is now, because I feel like the best term I feel like a lot of people have said is like, it's just messy between the two right now. For the past months worth of episodes, it's just been back and forth of who can upstage the other in terms of Greg being apologetic somewhat, but at the same time, Darla's calling him out for his mood swings. But at the same time, thankfully, Greg did say, well, you did say some pretty messed up things to me too. So maybe it's the whole proximity thing, because the fact she lives right down the hallway. But it's like some things that were said between the two in the past couple episodes, I don't think you could just get over and, talk about in that same night within the span of maybe an hour or less, I just think that if nothing else, it's just some weird situation where I'm thinking maybe Greg decides that he knows what he wants, but at the same time, does he really want Darla? Or because he truly has understood, hey, this is, who I want, I don't care what anybody else thinks. Or is he just saying that due to an ego thing of, not letting anyone else take what's mine? I don't know, but we'll see in the back half of the season. But regardless, Kelsey is the name of the guy that Darla met on a trans dating app, and he's introduced, and Greg is like, look, you're doing too much, you need to bring this guy here. And he comes in, Darla's being all touchy-feely in an attempt to just make him jealous, and I just had to educate this bitch who doesn't know what he wants. And then she leaves, and I'm just thinking, like, yet again, I don't think I could date someone who would openly just call me out of my name like that and then think it's all cool the next time we see each other. But it is what it is. So going over to probably my favorite scene of the episode, you got Pam and Regina. They're sitting on a bench in front of I believe Park Entrance, Bill's car, according to the tracker app. The Park Entrance actually leads to like a jog and walking area, so they're pretty much thinking, oh crap, our suspicions are foiled. Obviously, we know Bill possibly, ditched his car there in the event he was being followed. Or perhaps, he decided to jog from the location to where he met up with Claudia, which we'll get to in a moment. But essentially, they sit on the bench, and they're sitting in front of a Ferris wheel, which I feel like might be some sort of symbolism, because the conversation shifts gears to, why are we spending all this time chasing these men around, these niggas and whatnot? It's ridiculous, and it's not really getting us anywhere. And I'm thinking, that's just like being on a Ferris wheel. You go around and around in circles, but you don't get anywhere until you decide to get off the ride. So I feel like, again, that was symbolism. I could be 100% wrong, but if this was indeed symbolistic, wait, is that a word? Symbolism, then I'm right on the nose, and Tyler Perry, this was brilliant writing. But thankfully you got, Regina calling out Pam for, you're the one who got me out here, this and that, and wait, I didn't. And then Pam was like, look, I'm not the one that put the tracker app on Bill's phone. I'm not the one that downloaded it on your phone. I'm not the one that, made you come out here. It's like, when Smokey and Craig are arguing in Friday, it's like, you the one that made me smoke that weed. Come on, Craig, stimulate your mind. It's Friday. Well, I ain't put the weed up to your mouth and make you smoke it. You might as well have. Why are you bringing up old shit? So, I just like the fact that, wait, you trying to encourage me, the whole chasing Bill thing, but are you chasing Mike? No. And again, I just like the fact that the writing reflects the fan base, where it's like, I don't know, why is somebody who's married taking advice from someone who's single, not to mention aren't in a healthy relationship themselves with Mike. But I just like the back and forth between these two, because not only were these topics of discussions that fans, we've been having, but it's the fact that it was kind of tick for tack, where Regina would make a move and Pam had a good counter move until it got to the point where, hey, I need a ride. Can you drop me off? But Pam does ask the question, like, so what are you doing? Like, well, no, actually, Regina's like, what am I doing? When she's rightfully questioning what the hell is she doing? Like, is it really worth it being married if you're doing all this stuff, if you can't trust someone? And she says that, when he gets home, when she's asleep, she's going to delete the tracker app off his phone and whatnot. But the thing is, Pam is like, but what about when it's good? And I'm thinking, if it really only comes down to the sex, is it worth being with somebody? Why not just keep it at the hookup level? Assuming you're not in relationships, because if you're married and you are questioning everything else about the marriage aside from the sex, that is not a healthy marriage. That is just, I don't know. But then they decide to leave. And again, I really like this scene. So then we go over to Claudia and Bill. They enjoyed each other's company. Apparently they did it 4 times and she wants round 5. But it gets to the point where it's like, hey, I got to leave, jog, because I did say I was going to jog. But Claudia says, how about this? We can't leave at the same time. You grab a shower, obviously to get her scent off of him. And then, if you want to go for that run and get sweaty, you go ahead and do that. But the conversation kind of shifts to being more personal. Like, so, I'm in a bad marriage and my husband isn't too awful, but, sex isn't as good as this. We have sex like 3 times a week. And it's funny because she asked Bill, how long you been married? Let's not do this. How long? Less than a month. I'm like, nigga, it's been like less than 48 hours. So you are up here cheating. And I wonder what her response would have been if it's like, I've been married for barely 2 days. And then the conversation shifts gears to, that's the thing about it. We're safe with each other. This is a good way to escape from our marriages and whatnot without anybody knowing. And her husband is Jack McKenzie, who is apparently a known killer and thug. And she's confident that he'll never find out about her and Bill. And she leaves and Bill is scared to death. So again, this was a pretty decent episode in itself. Like I said, far and away better than Sisters last night. I was debating what score to give it, but I think a 6 out of 10 is a fair enough score. Interested to see where the back half of the season is going to go. And no, there was no Mike in this episode. He was name dropped, but other than that, he's still left alone in his loft with all that wine, and who knows if there are other drugs in there. But let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comment section below. I feel like, again, if Greg and Darla go under back and forth like this, they just need to see other people. Darla rightfully seeing someone who is secure in knowing that they're dating a trans person. Greg just needs to, as the bros say, open, your dating, world, if you will. Like, you literally just got out of divorce. There's no need to rush in anything right now. Alice needs to take that L, from Lydia, instead of trying to blame it on being high. And they need to find the real person who robbed her of her sex toys and wrecked the apartment. Tom, don't have drunk sex with Dina. And Regina, go home. Just go home. You say you talk to your mom, but I honestly don't know what kind of advice you can, get. I think you two just need to get a divorce. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one.